Thank you to all of you and the audience members. I want to just say something maybe marginally provocative here, which is that I think empowering parents and blaming parents are kind of two sides of the same coin. Mm-hmm. I think most parents are powerless against these algorithms. And I think that, Dr. Radesky, I agree with 92% of everything you've been saying, but I'm quite skeptical of this model in which the social media platforms give you the opportunity to either tweak the algorithm or turn off the algorithm or whatever. No one's going to do that. And you're sort of, you might very well be empowering super sophisticated, super fortunate, super engaged parents. But the rest of us just need a law, and in some instances, an excuse.
Yeah.
And to the extent that there's FOMO among kids, adults too, who are not in the text string or the signal string or the DM or the snap or whatever it is, to the extent that it's impermissible, then people will find other ways. And my view is, yes, we should have after-school programs, they should be subsidized, all the rest of it. But those kids are not going to that thing if they're stuck on their phone because their frontal lobe has been hijacked. And so, Dr. Radesky, I just want to kind of try to ground this conversation in the research, and I'd like you to cite the research. I mean, you're sort of characterizing it, summarizing it, but I'd like to know exactly what research you're referring to. What does the research show about algorithmic feeds that maximize user engagement, and why are kids uniquely impacted by this?
So a lot of the research has been done by the platforms. So it is not available for external researchers to look at. But there was an interesting convening. So this was published last year by Cunningham, where there were academics and people who worked for platforms who got together to think of how to create better feeds. So they were reviewing the research on how engagement-based feeds compared to, say, a chronologic feed. And so they had all this internal research that they reviewed and cited in this publication, which I can share with your staff, about how engagement-based ranking leads to more time online, right? Which is one thing we're talking about with displacement of healthy behaviors. It also leads to more amplification of emotions. And we know that kids' brains in the teenage years are so sensitive to emotional arousal. So if you had an engagement-based feed, the users of that feed can experience much more intense anger, happiness, and stress. And so that can lead to more compulsive use.
And that's why the bill that's bipartisan, that's co-sponsored by the chairman, the Kids Off Social Media Act, I think the headline about COSMA is the 13-year-old threshold. Arguably, the more powerful aspect of COSMA is the banning of the algorithmic feed for kids who are permitted to be on social between 13 and 18. And so my own judgment is we're never going to prevent, we can't turn back the clock completely. There are use cases for social media that are beneficial or at least entertaining. And if not affirmatively good for your life, more in the category of Saturday morning cartoons, like your mom comes in and says, you're going to rot your brain, but they don't actually mean you're going to rot your brain in the same way that we mean it now. Mm-hmm. And so I think banning the algorithmic feed for kids who are not yet fully developed is a very powerful tool. Dr. Twangy, I kind of wanted to drill down on a specific question about schools. I think we should have a bell-to-bell ban. And I think that there are people on the left who don't love the idea of these, on the left and the right, who don't love the idea of a federal mandate. But honestly, everybody's a federalist or not, depending on what kind of objective you have. And to the extent that this is a societal emergency, I just wanted you to talk through, we have in COSMA a social media ban during school hours, right? Using E-rate, it's sort of very narrow. My judgment is like what Senator Hickenlooper said, which is like, we should just rip off the Band-Aid and not make this like Rube Goldberg machine where we think we're gonna kind of thread the needle and still allow, The problem is there are beneficial use cases and there are, idiosyncratic emergency situations for individual kids where they'd have to work around it if they don't have a phone on them, right? And yet, we're talking about population-wide questions, and in my view, a federal question of a whole society that is basically unable to interact like we've always been able to interact, and by the way, learn like we've always been able to learn. And I'm just wondering, where do you land on, should it be bell to bell? Should we just ban social? What do you think we should do, and what does the data say? I'm over time, so be quick.
Yeah. So, the bell to bell is absolutely the way to go. So yes, great idea to say no social media, but then what happens? Then there's going to be some other distraction. Oh, let's watch Netflix on the device, or we're all sitting at lunch, but we're all staring at our phones, texting each other instead of talking to each other face to face. So those devices are distracting, and yes, social media is one of the reasons for that, but they are distracting, period, during the school day, and that bell-to-bell ban is the way to go.
Just one final thought. You're getting to it, right? Which is social media is particularly terrible for children. But like having all the world's information in your phone is probably not a great way to like lock in when it comes to learning algebra or American history. And so putting the damn thing away and making sure that no other kid has access to it
Yes.
Is absolutely essential. Senator Kim.
Thank you.